Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I'm your host, Mike Patton. And of course, this actual show is sponsored by Niche Lux Life. If you're looking for that special candle collection with that unique flavor, Niche Lux Life is for you. www.nicheluxlife.com. Of course, you get a unique Spotify playlist with each candle sold. All right. So on this episode, we're making our tour around, of course, non-AFC South teams. And my guest on this episode, I've known since we covered the Minneapolis Super Bowl together when it was freezing cold up there. And ever since then, she has went from just covering the Super Bowl to becoming a boss in the NFL media and media market game in general. That would be the founder, the CEO, the boss of DoubleTake Sports, Carita Parks. What's going on?
Thanks, Mike. That was such a nice introduction. I appreciate it. Everything's good on my end. Great to see how we have both come a very long way.
Yeah, no, wow. I still remember freezing in below 0 degrees every day in Minneapolis and wanting to go home, but knowing I need to be there and I'm having a good time. That's why I was like, yeah, I'm having a good time, but it's cold.
It was a good time. It was cold, though. Thank goodness for Mall of America.
Yes, definitely. Thank goodness for Mall of America. Thank goodness for there wasn't a lot of people outside to holler at us while you're walking the vans or buses to move around. Lord knows, when I was going to the Justin Timberlake press conference, that there were people outside trying to yell at us like we were superstars. And hey, I say I'm sorry to all those people because your boy had his head down and was beelining it for that bus. I wasn't talking to nobody in that cold weather.
Dang, that is right. Justin Timberlake was the halftime performer, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I met AJ and I met Kevin Frazier. They were literally sitting right behind me. So I
That's
remember that.
dope.
Yeah. But anyway, let's rein it back in. I
Before
know
we
we
get
haven't
caught
memory
up
lane.
in reminiscing.
Right. So, of course, we can't talk about just reminiscing back in the day, but we can't talk about the Baltimore Ravens and hoping they kind of make it to where they want to make it. Of course, back in the day they made it to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, Joe Flacco's quarterback. And that's the goal for the Baltimore Ravens this season. Of course, they're doing it with new leadership. John Harbaugh is not the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens anymore. Well, a lot of people, that still shocks them. But, of course, in comes former Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. Now, I know there was a particular feel around the organization with John Harbaugh there and just around Baltimore in general, the fans and all that stuff. But what are you kind of sensing is the feel around the Baltimore Ravens now that Harbaugh's gone and Mentor is there? Mentor's there.
There's a sense of excitement. Anytime there's someone new that comes in, I feel like there's excitement. It's a fresh start. But then there's also a sense of caution in the sense of no one wants to get ahead of themselves, right? It's like, he's great. We like it. A lot of people were talking about it feeling like a fresh start, but also it's very new still, right? So it was kind of like that balance of this is great, but it's still new. But overall, everybody seems to be good with the moving forward, right? It was shocking. I'm not going to lie. I was shocked when the team got rid of is like very strong, but when the team moved on from John Harbaugh, because he had been there for 18 seasons. And that's not to say anything against his coaching, but sometimes a team just needs a new start. Sometimes they need someone that they feel like they can connect with. And I believe that is what Jesse Minter brings, is someone that they can connect with, and his staff. They bring a sense of creativity and just change.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely winds of change. One thing that Baltimore fans we'll hope changes is Lamar and having a Super Bowl. Now, of course, the Super Bowl has been hung over Lamar and making it there. Everyone talks about it a lot every single season. They even dropped him, 30, 40, 50 spots in the
Which is
top 100.
crazy.
Very crazy. I don't understand that.
Disrespectful, but that's a different conversation.
Right, right. So I want to talk about the pressure.
Mhm.
Now, I know Lamar is always, Lamar at all times, but do you think the pressure at some point is going to get to Lamar? And what do you think the pressure level is on him going into this season?
So I think Lamar puts pressure on himself. I mean, he's a competitor. He always wants to win. So I think any pressure that Lamar feels, it's pressure that he puts on himself. I don't really think the outside noise gets to him as much, but he has his own goals of wanting to get to the Super Bowl. He talks about it every single season. And all he ever says when the season starts is, I want to win. So I think there's internal pressure that he puts on himself, but I know that he hears what people say about him needing to win a Super Bowl and all of the things. And let's be real, the change from Harbaugh to Jesse Minter was to unlock Lamar Jackson on a next level sense so that he can get to that Super Bowl. Like Baltimore wants to win now, and they think Lamar is the quarterback to do it. He has the talent to do it. But I think the coaching is definitely going to matter. Now, when Lamar finally get a Super Bowl, we know the bar is going to move again. But for
Yep.
now, that is the conversation in his greatness. People are saying, well, he won't be on this level until he gets a Super Bowl. So it is what it is. But I think that is pressure Lamar puts on himself every season, regardless of what other people are saying.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, great players, you're always going to, find some way to either push yourself or
Yeah.
put additional pressure on yourself to expect more of yourself. Now, a player that came in, he's 5'9", and people were like, yeah, can he be a star wide receiver? Well, Zay Flowers has proven he can be a star wide receiver, but it's contract time, so he wants to be paid like a star wide receiver. He's in year 4 of his rookie deal. By the way, 2 1,000-yard seasons in a row, and he's ascended, in terms of yardage each season. Is there any word on any potential new deal for Zay Flowers, or is that just kind of quiet or at this point?
Well, ironically, Eric DaCosta was just on a local radio show talking about Zay Flowers' extension, not in grave detail, but he did say that the talks are in progress and they are optimistic about getting a deal done. They love Zay, they want Zay to stay. And truth be told, Zay is Lamar's guy. Like that is his number one weapon, right? One thing I will say is Baltimore, they do take care of their people. Now, it might take some time for them to get to a deal that is satisfactory on both sides, but I don't doubt that it will get done in some capacity. Even the year, a couple years ago, when it got dicey with Lamar's contract extension, they still found a way to get it done. So for guys that they want to keep, they do find a way to make it happen. And so I think that Baltimore will ultimately take care of Zay Flowers. He's the first round draft pick. And that's not someone that they're going to easily let go, especially with the production, to your point, that he's had. And one area of weakness for the Ravens over the past few years, prior to Zay coming on, had been consistency in the wide receiver group.
Okay. All right. All right. So, I can't go on without talking about the interesting situation when it came to Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. Now, I heard the talk of, they were trying to get both of them. I heard that talk and I was like, I don't know if I believe it. But basically, what ended up happening is defensively, they added Trey Hendrickson after the failed trade of Max Crosby, where he was in Baltimore or on his way to Baltimore, but it just didn't quite work out. How was that whirlwind with Max Crosby And what do you think of Hendrickson's addition? I mean, it's crazy how it happened, but
Yeah.
what do you think of just that whole journey to get to Trey Hendrickson there?
I mean, you summed it up very well. It was crazy how it all happened. I mean, the fans were like, Ravens don't make a lot of splashy moves, right? But that Max Crosby move was splashy. All the fans were hype about that, and then boom, it all kind of fell through. However, the fans have embraced the idea now of Trey Hendrickson being there. They kind of had to get over that initial shock. But Trey Henderson, he's not a consolation prize, right? He was very productive. He did have his injury issues, but if he can be healthy, he is a good option at pass rush. That was one of the weak areas for the Ravens last year. And it was offensive line and pass rush. Those were the two areas that they wanted to focus on in the offseason. So being able to bring in Trey Hendrickson is good. And he's also going to elevate the guys around him, like Mike Green, right? Like Mike Green is at the cusp of having a breakout season, in my opinion. So I think adding him, he's a vet. Like I said, he's productive. They're used to playing against him. They know what he brings to the table. I like the addition, and it filled in an area of need that they had going into this season.
All right. Definitely was wild times. But one guy that I'm interested to see in this defense, of course, Kyle Hamilton. He's the highest paid safety, now the highest paid safety in the NFL. This offseason signing a 4-year, $114 million contract with $82 million guaranteed. Yeah. He's been incredible his entire career with the Ravens, but now he's with Jesse Minter. And, of course, me thinking of Derwin James, perhaps, with Kyle Hamilton. How do you expect do you expect some of the same, or do you expect a little more of Kyle Hamilton everywhere, a la Derwin James?
I expect Kyle Hamilton to be everywhere. That's why they also added Jalen Hawkins in the offseason to shore up that secondary. And they know Kyle Hamilton is at his best when he can be everywhere. So I think with someone like Jesse Minter, who they hire because of his defensive mind and what he's been able to do throughout his career, but particularly with the Chargers, and Derwin James has come up a lot. Kyle Hamilton is already one of the best safeties in the NFL. So just imagine if he goes to that next level, he is going to be even more dangerous than he already is. Now, health towards the end of the season has sometimes come into play with Kyle, but if he's 100% healthy throughout this season, he's going to be dangerous.
Definitely. Well, the Baltimore Ravens, an eventful offseason, and of course, they're hoping a more eventful season. Of course, that starts when they take on. Of course, it starts when they take on someone else. But anyway, it does start with the Baltimore Colts. Great gracious. The Indianapolis Colts.
That fiasco.
Yeah, the Indianapolis Colts take on the Baltimore Ravens to start this season. Of course, you're going to have Jonathan Taylor on one side. You're going to have Derrick Henry on the other. Two of the best running backs in the NFL. How much are you looking forward to that running back duel?
I think that'll be fun. Two physical running backs going against each other. Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs in the NFL. And then, like you said, you have Jonathan Taylor. I think that's definitely going to be a good test for the Ravens defensive line and their run defense, and same for the Colts. So I think that's a matchup to look forward to, the physicality of both running backs. So we'll see who comes out on top in that one.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a battle of the behemoths at the running back position. Of course, Daniel Jones, he played like a behemoth when he was healthy last year, but of course, he ain't been healthy the entire season, his entire career. Of course, last year fractured his leg on one leg, tore his Achilles on the other. But if let's say he is healthy, and
Right.
it is the first game. Let's say he is healthy going into the first game. How many problems do you think he can cause? Given the Ravens defense didn't necessarily start off great last season.
Oh, they did not start off great last season, but I still feel like they have enough juice. I don't think that that'll necessarily be the same this season, right? Because one of the reasons they hired Jesse Minter is to get the defense off to a quick start and for the Ravens to find their defensive identity again. So I believe that that is going to be what they're trying to prove from the start. But for me, I give Daniel Jones his props, but I don't feel that concerned about Daniel Jones when it comes to the Ravens defense. If they play at the capacity that I know that they can play with the talent they have on defense, because the talent has always been there. The problem has been sometimes the scheme and execution. But if they play at the level that I know that they can play, I believe Daniel Jones won't be that much of an issue.
Okay,
Especially
all
because
right.
he is coming off of an injury. I mean, a lot of times when you're coming off an injury, you're still trying to trust yourself again.
Right.
So I think that
Right.
is an advantage for the Ravens at this point.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, of course, Kyle Hamilton has a challenge in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And that challenge name is Tyler Warren. Now, Tyler Warren, rookie year, had about 800 some odd yards receiving. I expect him to have a bigger role this year, especially with Michael Pittman Jr. gone.
Mm-hmm.
So both very big guys, very, very fluid athletes. Now, people forget Tyler Warren was a quarterback when he came to Penn State. He wasn't a tight end. So, how much are you looking forward to just that matchup of him being stretched a little bit, taking on an athletic tight end like Tyler Warren?
I mean, I think that if there's anybody up for a challenge, it is Kyle Hamilton. Right. So, I mean, I think it'll be fun to watch and to see how he handles that matchup. But knowing what I know about Kyle Hamilton, he rises to the occasion. That doesn't mean it'll be easy, right? I mean, just like you said,
Right.
everything that you just discussed. But he is someone who rises to the occasion. There's one person in that secondary I'm not worried about. It is Kyle Hamilton.
Well, there is another one I'm worried about, but we're not talking about him right now because this is we're talking positive.
Well, now
Positive.
I want to know.
We're talking Mr. Humphrey back there. He's a little worried about him. He's been a little interesting the last year or so.
He has, but he was not happy with his season last year. And he was very vocal about that. So I do think he's trying to redeem himself this year.
We gonna see,
But to your
trying to
point,
redeem his.
there was some inconsistency. When Marlon had good games, he had good games. But when he had bad games, he had bad games.
Yeah, trying to redeem yourself and getting older, that doesn't necessarily go hand in hand a lot, especially in sports.
But to be determined, I guess.
Right. But of course,
we will have to see.
Right. Right. Now, it's the first game of the season, of course. Do you expect the Ravens to come out and I guess try to make a statement with their new head coach?
Yes, which is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, right? The way their season ended last year, I mean, last year was just an emotional roller coaster for the team and the reporters covering the team, right? Lamar, I mean, everyone, that was a heavy locker room last year. I mean, no one likes to lose, but the way they were losing and just not being able to get it back together, and then they were riddled with injuries. So that change occurred over the offseason with Harbaugh. And yes, I believe that they are going to try to come out and make a statement with their new head coach because they want to show, one, that they made the right decision, but two, the Ravens are a team that's used to winning and they want to get back to that point.
Man, you said emotional roller coaster. The first thing popped in my mind.
What's that?
Vivian Green, emotional roller coaster. That's not part of mine. But anyway, I know that's like something like I'll be either here nor there. But the emotional roller coaster will be out on October 4th. That is the first time Derrick Henry will be facing the
Yeah.
Tennessee Titans, a team that he starred for a lot of years. So in that game, how do you expect his emotions to be heading into that one?
Well, Derrick Henry, this is a very even keeled guy. You will never know what his emotions are during the season. He is like this. But Tennessee has a very special place in his heart. That is where he spent the first half of his career. And so much of who he is now is from his time with the Titans, right? I don't really look at him going back thinking it's a revenge game of some sort, because that organization has changed so much. But also, who wants to go back to their old team and not win? So he's definitely going to want to get the dub on that one. But I guarantee that he will keep it very coy leading up to that game. And I also think that he will speak very highly of the organization and his experience there.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. Of course, that game will be in Baltimore, so definitely is going to be interesting.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. I'm talking like, but yeah.
No, you good. You good. I got you. It's all good. It's all good. But it's definitely going to be a fun atmosphere. When that happens, and I would say it would be even crazier if the game actually was here. Because it's the last season in old Nissan Stadium. So that would have made it even better, because there would be some of his old teammates would probably be in the house. But speaking of one of his old teammates being in the house, Jeffrey Simmons is going to be there. And last year, he was the best defensive tackle in the NFL. He had 11 sacks, a ton of tackles for loss, and he provided leadership, albeit, the team wasn't as good as it probably could have been. How concerned are you about Simmons and his impact, especially, with the issues that the Ravens had in the interior offensive line last year?
Oh, yeah, I definitely believe Jeffrey Simmons is a concern, right? And do I know? We don't know yet if the Ravens are going to have the same issues on the interior offensive line this year. That is something, I mean, they drafted offensive linemen first round for that very reason. But even if the offensive line for the Ravens is performing, Jeffrey Simmons is a concern regardless, right? He is extremely talented. The Titans have kept him around for a reason. So I think that he is someone that is going to give the Ravens offensive line a run for their money, regardless of how good they are this year or not. He's Jeffrey Simmons. He's one of the best players on the Titans defense.
He actually, the thing is that I find so amazing about Jeffrey Simmons. Keep in mind, I've been watching this team for a while now. Last year was the greatest shape he has ever been in. I've never seen a 300-pound man that had no stomach. He was a 300-pound man that had no stomach. He looked like Mr. Incredible playing football.
Wow, that is no stomach is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was kind of like, dang, I need to figure out what he's doing. I need to figure that out. I mean, but of course, the Titans do have a brand new cornerback room this year. They went and signed Alontae Taylor from the Saints. They went and signed Cordell Flott from the Giants. They went and signed Joshua Williams from the Kansas City Chiefs. All of these guys 6'1" and above. So they got big cornerback room. Of course, that hasn't ever, deterred Lamar Jackson from challenging people. So as far as Lamar Jackson, and you mentioned Jesse Minter being brought in to kind of, in terms of, what the offensive scheme he's going to run to kind of, I guess, unlock him a little bit more. Do you expect him to kind of mix it up a little bit towards attacking them, or just be, Lamarvelous as he's been, aka that. Shout out to Rita, by the way, Rita, the NFL chick, Lamarvelous, but she coined that one. But do you expect him to be Lamarvelous out there with trying to tackle him in the passing game and stuff?
He's going to always be going to try to be Lamarvelous, right? Like Lamar is Lamar, and that's what it is. But Declan Doyle is the new offensive coordinator, and all the guys have said that he is extremely smart, very innovative, and I believe for him, he's going to be trying to prove that he was the right hire for offensive coordinator, right? So I definitely see them mixing it up and trying new things with their offense in general. So I don't expect that to change when they play the Titans.
Okay. All right. It's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, this is probably the tallest cornerback room that I've seen the Titans ever have. I mean, you got 6'1" and above out there. It's wild to me. But
I mean, they're going to be smart. They are going to be smart. They'll have some film. They'll have a little film on the cornerbacks by the time they play them. So they're going to be smart with the ball, right? But they're not going to back down from a challenge.
Right. Of course, a guy that doesn't back down from challenges is Cam Ward. He definitely finished the season last year, 10 touchdown passes, 1 interception in his last 8 games, which a lot of people gloss over that because they think about the first half of this season. But he ended the season on a high, even though he did get injured in the last game versus Jacksonville Jaguars, scoring a touchdown. But of course, this season he has some brand new weapons. He's got Wan'Dale Robinson from the New York Giants, and he's also got Cornell Tate to go along with Calvin Ridley coming back, to go along with Chim DK and Alec Iomanner. So your 2 and 3 guys, your 1 and 2 guys into the season in Iomanner and DK are now your 4 and 5 guys. So with these type of weapons, and with, like I mentioned, Mr. Humphrey not having necessarily, he said he gonna bounce. He vows to have a better season. We gonna say that. And, Kyle Hamilton, all those guys. I mean, with Cam Ward and how he ended the season, that has to put a little bit of worry into that Ravens secondary about what Ward can do with these weapons, right?
I don't know if they are worried per se, and I'm not. That's no disrespect to Cam Ward and or his weapons, but I will say a question mark going into this season is how the Ravens secondary will perform, right? They have Nate Wiggins. They have Malachi Starks. Marlon may not have played well last season, but he played better than some of the rest of the secondary last year, right? So
That's
if he
true.
does have a good season, that'll be good. We have to see how Jalen Hawkins plugs in. And I feel like I'm missing someone, but they have a pretty deep secondary. Now, if the secondary can get back to, they have 2 first-round picks on there with Nate Wiggins and Malachi Starks, right? So if they can get back to being who they were the year before last, I think the Ravens secondary is dangerous and has the capability of being dangerous. Now, if they are not able to get it together, then Cam Ward will have a field day because people were having a field day against the secondary last year, right? So, like I said, with them, I think we're going to have to see how they pan out this year. But depending on how that goes, it will depend on, how Cam Ward will be able to do against the Ravens secondary with his new weapons, and how those weapons will be able to perform as well.
Well, I'm definitely interested to see how the Titans develop under Brian Daboll and his new offense, which I will say
that'll be interesting too, right?
Right. It's a separate offense than what a lot of the offenses are in the NFL, being that, all the offenses are mostly kind of a hybrid of a Shanahan or McVay style offense, but this offense stands alone by itself. That'll be interesting to see how they prepare for that offense. But of course, that'll be an interesting game with the emotions involved in that one.
But to
But
be fair, I will say I
uh-huh.
know like Cam Ward is a very competitive. I've seen his interviews. Besides like him
Mhm.
playing on the field, I've seen his interviews, so I know he's a competitor, and he's going to go out there and try to give the Ravens secondary what they want.
Yep. Yeah, he definitely is. He definitely is a guy that he said his best play, his favorite play was all all fly patterns. He said we're not scared over here. I was like, ooh. He said that at the first press conference. I was like, man, I like
Listen,
this guy
so yeah,
already.
you're gonna be ready. And there's gonna be a lot of chatter about that game, like because Lamar has not played against Cam Ward, right? And
Right,
anytime the black quarterbacks play against each other, it's a story. So,
right,
he's gonna go in that game trying to prove himself too.
right. You're right. You're right. Of course, the next game against the AFC South is the Jags versus the Ravens. Now, of course, the Jags are traveling to Baltimore in this one.
Yes.
Of course, this is going to be could be a game where you see Trevor Lawrence out here
Yes.
versus, and to me, Trevor Lawrence has been kind of up and down his entire career. Just when you think he's got it, he don't. And then when you think he don't got it, he do. It's kind of like that. But what do you think of him, and what do you just think of him and the problems he may be able to present for this Ravens defense?
Well, Trevor, if I remember correctly, they have, or he has, I should say, because the team around him has changed, but he has beat beaten the Ravens at least twice, I think. I believe once in Jacksonville and
Hmm.
once in Baltimore, if I remember correctly. But I say all that to say for him, he is used to playing against the Ravens and he's had some success against the Ravens. Now, like I said, the team on both sides around the quarterbacks has changed a little bit, so that's different. But Trevor, if he is Trevor that's on the up and up, will definitely present a problem for the defense, right?
Hmm.
But if he's Trevor who is having some issues, then the defense will be able to pressure him and cause him to make mistakes, right? Because we've seen that. But
Hmm.
I think if Trevor is playing and excelling the way that he was at the end or well last season, then he
Hmm.
will present some problems for the Ravens defense.
Now, speaking of how he finished last season, 15 touchdowns, one interception down the stretch of the season, dominating fashion heading into the playoffs. Unfortunately, they did lose to the Buffalo Bills. And of course, Josh Allen got carried like 9 or 10 yards on the play, which I thought was really interesting. But I digress. In this game, you do have two guys that were really good coordinators that are now head coaches, and Jesse Minter
Mhm.
and Liam Cohen. So this matchup should be fun. I mean, how do you just are you excited about just seeing these innovative minds go against each other on the opposite sides of the ball?
Yeah, two young head coaches, right? Jesse Minter in his first year trying to prove himself, and then Liam Cohen in his second year, probably trying to prove that he can have consistency from the first season because, like we have seen with the Jaguars, where a new head coach comes in and they've had some momentum, like with Doug Peterson, and then the second year
Hmm.
they don't have that same momentum. So you'll see Liam Cohen trying to build upon what he started last year. They're both extremely creative. They're both competitors. I mean, Liam Cohen, what I do like about him is he does not coach scared. And
Hmm.
we haven't experienced Jesse Minter's coaching yet, but I would imagine that he's probably not going to coach scared, right? So I think it's going to be a chess match. I think it'll be a fun game. I think we'll see a lot of creativity on both sides of the balls. And it's funny because it's like Liam Cohen is known for his offensive mind, right? And then Jesse
Hmm.
Mitchell's known for his defensive mind. So I think it'll be fun. I think that will be, like I said, a chess match between two very young and talented coaches.
Right, right. Of course, Derrick Henry.
Hmm.
You might want to say he's like the Jacksonville Jaguars boogeyman because every time he faces them, it seems to
He's
go
scared.
off. Now, he grew up in Yulee, Florida, which is not far from Jacksonville. So just to
Nope.
keep that in mind. But the Jaguars last season did have the number one rush defense, only giving up 86 yards per game. Wow. How do you feel about this team going into there? And then, of course, will history repeat itself and Derrick Henry show up and show out, or will the Jaguars continue to be tough on defense? Now, I will say they did lose Devin Lloyd on defense.
Yeah.
The Jaguars did to the Carolina Panthers. So a little bit has changed, but not a lot. That front seven is still quite there. I mean, do you see Derrick Henry becoming their boogeyman one more time?
It's possible, and not because I doubt the Jaguars' run defense, but Derrick Henry, he's just hard to stop. And as you know, he will wear a defense down. Then he breaks out for a big run. So it's possible that he could be the Jaguars' boogeyman one more time because he is not easy to stop. They may have some success early on. And then, like I said, when you get to that like third, fourth quarter, after several times trying to bring Derrick Henry down, the game changes, right? So I think Derrick Henry will at least get one decent run. I hope it's not like a 90-yard run because we all remember that one. They still play that to this day. But I think he'll get, he might break out for a 40-yarder or something like that just because he's Derrick Henry. And like I said, I don't doubt the Jaguars' run defense, but he's a hard guy to bring down. He is a hard guy to bring down. And like you said, it seems like no matter who is on the Jaguars, Derrick Henry always has some kind of big game against them.
Yes, he definitely does. Now, the run you mentioned, that actually was a 99-yard run. That was from the 1 yard line.
It was ridiculous, whatever it was. It was absolutely ridiculous.
He threw the linebacker out of bounds. He just threw him out of bounds.
It was a lie. It was a lie. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for the Jaguars defense that day.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
When Derrick Henry goes into the Hall of Fame, we know that is going to be a clip that they use to highlight his career.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, you're right. Of course, one battle I'm looking forward to seeing is the Jaguars wide receiver crew, which they, to me, are the best wide receiver crew in the AFC South. You got Jacoby Myers, you got Brian Thomas Jr., you got Parker Washington, and then you sprinkle in a little bit of Travis Hunter as your fourth wide receiver. And they're going against this Ravens secondary. Again, they're going to be challenged.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm looking forward to that matchup. I mean, they're going to be challenged in that when the Ravens are, for sure.
That will be a challenge, like you said, because the Jaguars have 4 very good wide receivers. And Parker Washington, I mean, he went off last season, right? And he became one of their most reliable receivers. And then Jacoby Myers came in later last year. Right. So now he gets to start the season with the Jaguars after having some success with them last year. So I think that he'll be even better in their scheme this year. And like you said, sprinkle in Travis Hunter. As long as Brian Thomas Jr., he was a little inconsistent last year, but if he can find consistency, yeah, it's going to be a challenge because it's 4 of them that are really good. Are really good.
Right. And of course, throwing in there, you talked about Brian Thomas Jr. 14.3 is the number. That's the drop rate he had last year. That was the 6th highest in the NFL, which
that's what I was saying.
Was rough.
He was inconsistent last year. So hopefully he can find his way back to himself this year.
Hopefully so. But of course, there's one last game and a team you really, really can't forget. That'd be the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Houston Texans November 29th. Now, it's a month past Halloween, but still, like Jigsaw, like Freddy, like Jason, their defense is scary and it's haunting. It's the stuff of nightmares. So, this week has got to be a nervous week for the Baltimore Ravens offense, right?
Yeah, I will have to say the Texans defense, I mean, last season, whew, if they can be just as good as they were last season, which I suspect they probably will be, yeah, they're definitely going to give the Ravens offense a run for their money. I can't even lie. And at this point, even though they're not in the same division, I feel like the Ravens and the Texans have played a lot. In my time
Mm-hmm.
covering the Ravens, they played the Texans every season, I think. So
Mm-hmm.
these are two teams that know each other. Of course, the Ravens have a different coach, but they're two teams that know each other. The Texans, D'Amico Ryan, he knows the Ravens, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that is going to be a tough one. And I won't say it always is, because the Ravens did blow them out at some point, but they also didn't have the defense that they have now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
could be a completely different story. And last year it was the Texans that blew the Ravens out. So, they're going tit for tat at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and definitely. And then also you throw in Reed Blankenship. They bring him over from the Philadelphia Eagles to play safety for him to team up with Bullock, who is probably a guy that is ascending and could be an All-Pro safety this year. Then they bring in a defensive tackle from Ohio State in the second round, and at the position they needed. They needed a young defensive tackle, and boom, they get him in Caden McDonald from Ohio State, which this guy is already saying, my goal for rookie year to be an all pro, to be this. And I'm like, man, I'm kind of thinking he can do it too.
Hey, I mean, he might be able to do that, but the Texans have a physical defense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not going to be an easy one.
Definitely, they got some money decisions they got to make in the future, but I digress. Of course,
Right now.
uh,
different stuff.
man, yep, definitely. Of course, CJ Stroud and Lamar Jackson. Of course, they're at this part of the season, you will know who they are, and there's pressure on both of these
Yes.
guys for different reasons.
Right.
Like for CJ Stroud, not only contract talks, but him. Some people looking at him as the reason why the Texans didn't make it as far as they could have. For Lamar, he's got pressure for trying to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So in this season, at this point in the season, you would probably think both of them would have a lot of pressure, but do you kind of envision maybe CJ having more pressure on him this year going to it, or Lamar having more pressure going into the season?
That's a hard question, honestly, because like you said, both of them have a lot of pressure for very different reasons. I do think at that time in November,
Mm-hmm.
it'll probably still be Lamar, because all eyes are on, can he get to the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that has been his biggest plight throughout his career. And even with CJ Stroud having a tough year last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear the national media like continuing to basically rip him apart, right? But with Lamar, they're still talking about Lamar needs to reach the Super Bowl. And, can Jussie Mentor take Lamar to the next level? I mean, the commentary is still there around Lamar. So I think that he probably has more pressure, but CJ Stroud got a lot of pressure too.
Yeah, he definitely does. I mean,
He's probably playing to your point, contract time.
mm-hmm.
So he's got to prove that he can be the quarterback that the Texans brought him in to be. So it'll be tough for both of them for different reasons.
Definitely. And of course, CJ Stroud's got to be feeling the way that Will Anderson Jr., the guy who's drafted one spot behind him that they traded up to got his extension while he didn't get his extension. So,
Yeah.
of course, they did. Yeah. Definitely something to be filling away. Now, David Montgomery, of course, was added to this team as well. A running back addition the Texans needed, of course. But all that doesn't matter unless the actual Texans offensive line does some things, which they brought in a couple guys. They brought in one guy from the Colts, and they also brought in Wyatt Teller to play guard for them from the Cleveland Browns. So, with that being said, I mean, the Ravens defensive line, with Trey Hendrickson and Mike Green, man, they got to be looking at this like, man, we might have us a good time this week, right?
Yeah, I do favor Baltimore in this situation because the Texans offensive line is probably still going to be building that chemistry and figuring some things out. So I do in this situation favor the Baltimore Ravens defense. And like you said, with Trey Hendrickson, and Calais Campbell is older, but he still, can play. So yeah, the Ravens defense, I think we'll see, but I think they have the potential to like that matchup.
Okay. All right. And of course, the matchup I'm looking forward to, and I think is the best matchup in the game, Derek Stingley Jr. versus Zay Flowers. Feisty versus feisty. Boy, oh boy. I mean, to me, it's the best matchup in the game to me. Is that the best matchup in this game to you?
I think about it. I was just trying to think about it, make sure like there was nothing else, but I think that'll be a fun one because it'll be a high profile matchup, right? So it'll be very interesting. I think to your point, feisty versus feisty. So which feisty is going to come out on top? So I think that'll definitely be fun to watch. CJ and Lamar are going to be like going at it, and then you got Zay out there. So I think that'll definitely be a fun one to watch. And Zay is always like that spotlight now. So if he knows all eyes are on him, he's going to want to come out on top.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely going to be an interesting game. As far as the AFC South, it's going to be interesting to get to see Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the Baltimore Ravens under the new leadership of Mr. Jesse Mentor. Now, of course, we've reached the end of the show. Carita, thank you for coming on the show. If you can, tell everyone where they can find you on social media and where they can find all your material, readings, your videos, everything, the empire that you are building. Can you please tell them about it?
Yes. So you can find me personally on all social media platforms at Carita C. Parks. But most importantly, make sure that you follow DoubleTake Sports. That's where all of my work is. And we are a multi-sport outlet. So it's NFL, NBA, WNBA. We even have golf, college sports. So be sure to follow us at DBLTake Sports on all social media platforms, including YouTube. And then our website is www.dbltakesports.com. That's where you can find our articles and also additional links to our social media.
Okay, well, darn, Carita, you started doing college sports now too. Dang, you just taking over the world.
Ooh, well, thankfully, I have some contributors, so they're handling that for me, which I love. That's what it's all about, is growing the company.
Well, there you have it. Of course, touring the AFC South, brought to you by Niche Lux Life candle collections with a unique flavor. Like I mentioned, each with a unique Spotify playlist. Of course, my name is Mike Patton. I am the host of Touring the AFC South. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE, _general_MP. And Touring the AFC South, you can find on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South, talking the Baltimore Ravens versus the AFC South. We're out. Peace.